Nose in the hole. Working position. Lying on the side opposite the deeper side of your sacrum, knee of the underside leg straight forward of the hip, bent to 90 degrees, resting with your elbow directly beneath your shoulder, forearm forward, thumb up. Elbow directly beneath the shoulder gives maximal support with minimal muscular involvement. Explore to find the position of maximal support. The key to this exercise is to avoid any sense of stretch, including twisting stretch, while supporting yourself equally with the underside, calf, and forearm. Smooth the movements out, letting your head hang comfortably at the end of each twisting action. The slow dive. In this movement, you position your elbow with your ribs in the lifted position, shoulder away from your neck. You begin by pushing down with your elbow to lift up your ribs and head. The shoulder pulls away from your neck. You then bow forward, nose toward the hole, to your easy limit, and let the shoulders sink toward your neck. Support yourself equally with your forearm and thigh. You push down again and roll the topside shoulder and chest back and let your head hang back. Then push down with the elbow, lift, and come forward again to your next easy limit. You push down with the elbow, hoist your ribs up, and roll back again, letting your head and neck hang back freely. You push down with the elbow again, roll forward, and aim even closer to the hole as freedom permits. Avoid forcing the twist. Let the shoulders sink in. Push down again, hoist your ribs up, and roll backward. Let the shoulders sink in toward your neck. Let your head hang. Push down with the elbow, roll forward again. Let your nose come closer according to your free limit, and let your shoulders sink in toward your neck. You push down again and roll back to your next easy limit, and let your head hang. The shoulders sinks in. You then lift again and bring your nose toward the hole or into the hole, letting the shoulders sink in. You push down with the elbow to lift and roll back again, letting your head hang and your shoulders sink in. You push down again, and this time come forward but not as far. Let the shoulders sink in, then push down and roll back again. Not as far, let the shoulder sink in. Push down again and come forward again, not so far, the shoulder sinks in. You push down again with the elbow, roll the head back and hang. Push down again, roll forward, less this time. Shoulder sinks in. You push down again with the elbow and roll back, not as far, your head hangs back. You push down again to lift up and come forward, not as far. Push down again, roll back. Let your head hang, shoulders sink in. Push down again and roll forward even less, the shoulder sinks in. Push down again, your head turns and rolls back, your shoulder sinks in. You push down again, and now let your head sink toward your shoulder. Turn on your back and come to rest for a time. Movement 2, freeing the upper spine, hand position. Notice the cheekbone. Notice the line of the thumb all the way to the heel of the hand. You fit the thumb so that the cheekbone fits right in the cup of the palm and the thumb fits underneath the length of the cheekbone. So you wrap around your ear, and your elbow is then in the straight, wide position. Instruction in the movement. In working position, with your head resting on your palm, you roll the top side, chest, and shoulder back and forward to get used to that rolling movement. Then you lift part of the weight off your hand and roll the shoulder forward and then sink down. Then lift again and roll the shoulder back and sink down. Next time you roll the shoulder forward, stop at a position of some discomfort in your neck or ribs and let your head sink down. Then lift again and bring yourself to the neutral position and let your head sink down. Then lift again and bring the shoulder and topside chest forward, locate another uncomfortable position and sink down completely. Then lift again, roll back to neutral position and let your head sink down. Now turn on your back and rest for a time. Movement 3, allowing the side of the neck to roll and lengthen. In this movement, you position your elbow with your shoulder near your neck and head draped over that shoulder. So the elbow is directly beneath the shoulder. Letting your head rest along your shoulder, roll your topside shoulder and chest forward and back continuously, letting your head rest against your shoulder, or as close as you can easily, teaching yourself to keep your neck relaxed through the movement. Do that now. Now complete what you're doing. Turn onto your back and rest for a time. Now turn onto your other side for movement number 1, the slow dive. You position your elbow to be directly beneath your shoulder when your ribs are lifted. You begin with a slow partial turn forward, and then a slow roll back. Now by pushing down with the elbow, lift and come forward a little closer to the hole and sink. Push down, lift and roll back, and the shoulder sinks into your neck. Push down, roll forward a little closer. Let your shoulder sink into your neck. Push down, roll back, sink. Head relaxes back. Push down, come forward closer to the hole, and your shoulder sinks in. You lift and roll back, your head sinks back. Push down with the elbow, lift, roll forward, let your nose come yet further to or in the hole. The shoulder sinks in. Lift up again, roll back, and sink. The next movements are at decreasing amounts of twist. So you lift, twist not as far forward, and sink. Lift, roll not as far back, and sink. Your head hangs back. Lift again, come not so far forward, and let your shoulder sink in. Push down and lift again, and roll back not as far, and let your head hang back. Lift up, come forward not as far, and your shoulder sinks in. Then lift and roll back and sink. Then lift, come forward and sink. And lift and come back not as far and sink. and lift and come forward, not as far, and sink. And lift and come back, and let your head hang. And lift, come barely forward, and then in a gentle rocking movement find your center point, sink, then turn on your back and rest for a time. Movement number 2, freeing the upper spine. Working position with your elbow spread out and your face resting against your palm. You begin keeping your face against your palm, rocking your top side shoulder and ribs forward and back, keeping your face parallel to the surface. Now lift some of the weight off your palm and rock forward, find a position of some discomfort, and sink. Lift again, rock your shoulder and upper ribs back, keeping your cheek parallel to the surface. Lift again, shoulder and ribs forward, and sink. Lift again, shoulder and ribs back, and sink. Lift again, roll forward, and sink. Lift again, roll back to the neutral position, and sink. Lift again, roll forward, and sink. Lift again, roll back, and sink. Lift again, roll forward, and sink. Lift again, roll back, and sink. A nodding movement helps to integrate the change in your neck. Now turn on your back and rest for a time. Movement 3, allowing the side of the neck to roll and lengthen. In this movement, you position your elbow with your shoulder near your neck and head draped over that shoulder. So the elbow is directly beneath the shoulder. Letting your head rest along your shoulder, roll your topside shoulder and chest forward and back continuously, letting your head rest against your shoulder, or as close as you can easily, teaching yourself to keep your neck relaxed through the movement. Do that now. Now complete what you're doing. Turn onto your back and rest for a time. That completes nose in the hole.